All right. Thank you for getting the likes up. I appreciate you for that. Thank you so much. All right. So the first video that I want us to cover today. Let me see here. Let's drop this off. Let's drop that one off. The first video I want to cover today is a video. Not to send this to me actually.
Saying that.
So we're gonna call it a short video. Just one little lesson I want to identify here. We've covered this story with Steve Harvey before. We covered a story with his co-host Shirley Strawberry. Okay. Now yesterday, some audios leaked. I think they said about October 22nd last year, 2022. She was having a conversation with estranged husband, the guy that's locked up, the guy with a bunch of criminal charges against her. Remember, we covered this story and we were talking about how old do you get before you really start to your ability to be able to vet as a woman start to deteriorate. There is a point, it's a bell curve, right? We covered that if you remember, right? This was the lady, and she's been a co-host with Steve Harvey for decades, literally, right? And some audio leaked from jail, some audio voicemails leaked from jail, and she was basically throwing Steve Harvey under the bus. What did she say? She said something to the effect that Marjorie, that's Steve Harvey's wife, who everybody is fantasizing about them breaking up. That's not gonna happen soon. It might happen. You never know. Life happens, right, to people. But it's not gonna be because of all the nonsense that's going on the internet. But we can't blame the internet. It's called media, okay? So, but anyway, so there's a lot of stuff going on with the rumors that Marjorie cheated on Steve Harvey. In fact, there's one lame ass person that I'm going to react to in a second who actually brought that up and never really told me anything. We're going to talk about that in a second. Again, I have a lot going on today. I got you. Okay. So this was she now said something to the effect that I think she said Marjorie sees them, that means the co-hosts and people that work with Steve Harvey, as the help. So that audio leaked. Now, obviously, it's a little bit of a betrayal there, but listen, they're family. So things happen. You said something about your sibling that you don't want them to know you said. Don't lie, okay? So, but you know, the social media is having a feel about that, right? And I'm gonna play. She apologized, right? But there's one little lesson I want to extract, and then we'll move on to the next segment. Let me play it real quick.
All right, Steve, I'm gonna just start by saying that my estranged husband is in jail. He's been in jail for over a year, since about right after the 4th of July of 2022. And recently, some phone calls from last year between he and I were leaked. And on those calls, you hear me saying you were winded going up the stairs at your home, and Marjorie looks at us as the help. And right here and now,
that's a lot.
I want to apologize to you and Marjorie for what I said. As much as I wish I could, I can't take it back. I can't. I said it, and you know, I want to apologize. It was definitely not me trying to add to what you and Marjorie already have going on in your lives right now. But the fact that these tapes were released, it does seem like everyone is coming to you, coming for you, I should say, at this time, including me. But in reality, the tapes have nothing to do with what you and Marjorie have going on. It was just me running my mouth in a private conversation, or what I thought was a private conversation. And again, I apologize. I feel terrible. I make no excuses. You know, I said what I said, and there's no denying it. There's no taking it back. Back then, when the phone calls happened.
Now, keep in mind, she said what she thought was a private conversation. That part. Okay. There is no such thing as a private conversation. You should just make that assumption. Obviously, there are some private conversation, but in general, this is power intelligence now, right? You should always know that there's a possibility. There is just a possibility. There are a couple of things you pay attention to, right? There's a possibility that when you are talking, somebody is listening to what you're saying, particularly a person that might use what you're saying against you, okay? You know how they say, oh, we can't speak the truth anymore. You know how they say, well, you have, from day one I've been talking about social intelligence, right? I've been talking about power intelligence, right? Because sometimes you say something, you're actually saying, quote unquote, factual truth, right? But it backfires. And you're stuck with nothing but, you know what? I can't tell, like, truth is bitter. You're right, the truth is bitter, right? That's the reality. The truth is bitter, right? The truth can be a hard pill to swallow for all of us, not just women, for men and women, okay? When somebody comes to you and say, hey, your breath is kicking small, just, right? It could be the truth, right? Obviously. Like, it's highly unlikely that somebody will just come randomly. I'm not saying it's not possible. It's highly unlikely that somebody will just be hating on you and tell you that your breath is kicking. There's a very good chance that your breath was kicking on that day like it has been for the rest of us once upon a time, right? It's not really a big deal. But when you take it as a big deal, you overreact to that. And then you say, she's just a hater, right? So we're in a space right now that everybody is fighting for people to pander to them. They want them to tell them how they feel, and they don't want truth. It's the reality of how things go. Now, there are some things that it's in your best interest to learn how that information is going to land, to actually master how to land the information in a way that's actually productive and not just, hey, let me just tell the truth. It's not always in your best interest to say, let me just tell the truth and speaking the truth. It's not always in your best interest to be a Tyrese. Okay? But pay attention to what I just said. I'm not saying that it's not good to tell the truth. I'm saying your best interest. Majority of the time, when you claim that you're telling the truth, you're basically just, it's a level of arrogance, okay? Because you're not paying attention to what that looks like on the other side, because there's always at least two people involved in that interaction. In terms of telling yourself truth in front of the mirror, you have all the freedom in the world to, in fact, I encourage you to tell yourself the truth in front of the mirror as often as you can, okay? But even at that, sometimes you're telling yourself terrible stories that will create terrible results, right? So what am I trying to say here? When you're talking to a person in jail, that the phone call clearly starts by every call is being recorded, right? And then you keep running your mouth, it can come back almost a year later. She said it happened October 22, 2022. It's almost a year later, it's coming back to bite her in the butt. Not just that, it's affecting the whole brand. They had to switch around the whole hour of the show today for this apology, and then that's on top of everything that was going on. You might say, but she doesn't need to speak to it. You're right, but mental health and emotions are not anybody's mate. Sometimes you can't handle it, you just want to speak your truth and say it out, and as long as you're willing to keep it moving and you're not looking for closure from speaking your truth, because sometimes that closure is not going to come from that. But the key lesson I wanted to extract from this is this: always assume that somebody is listening. That doesn't mean you should now be walking on eggshells. You can talk to your friends. What I'm saying is that whatever you're saying at any point in time, especially gentlemen, you have to be willing to back it up with your full chest, even if it comes wrong. You have to be willing to say, you know what, I apologize. That's why I'm giving her kudos for apologizing, right? But sometimes an apology is not good enough. Sometimes the damages may be too much, right? And that's all I really want to extract from this. Everybody else want to, use this opportunity to drag Steve a little further. In fact, somebody else tried to drag Steve inside of my comment earlier today, I think, and we're going to literally drag that person right now on this next segment. That's all I have for this one. I'll be right back.